Article 20. Shall the town designate town-owned parcel map 401, lot 117, containing 31.94 acres as conservation land to be managed by the Weare Conservation Commission?
I'll speak to that. I'll move this.
I'll second it.
This property that we're discussing was taken in tax deeded in 2016. This lot connects to 6 continuous lots of land currently managed by the Weare Conservation Commission.
Okay, discussion on this article?
Hi, Bruce Furlong again. Where is it?
This land is up off the Henniker Road. It's near Nostock Highway.
It's
She's got a.
Bruce, it's across from John Stark off of Hemlock Drive.
Okay.
Any other discussion on Article 20? Oh, I apologize.
It
Go ahead.
connects, the 6 contiguous pieces there are up in the Chipmunk Falls area.
Okay. All right, seeing none, it will move to the ballot as written.
Second.
All those in favor of restricting reconsideration on Article 20? Okay. Article 21. Shall the town adopt the provisions of RSA 7228B, all veterans tax credit? If adopted, the credit will be available to any resident or the spouse or surviving spouse of any resident who, 1, served not less than 90 days on active service in the Armed Forces of the United States and was honorably discharged, or an officer honorably separated from services is not eligible for receiving a credit under RSA 7228 or RSA 7235. If adopted, the credit granted will be $500, the same as the veterans tax credit adopted by the town under RSA 7228. This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen.
Madam Moderator, I'll be speaking to the question. Move the article as written.
Second.
This is to make it more equitable for veterans. The way it was written before is some veterans, because they weren't in what they called a recognized battle or conflict, they were not, even though they served honorably for this country, and it was a disservice not to give them that credit because they didn't serve, but they did serve honorably. We opted to give them the credit. It said the Board of Selectmen felt the need to include this warrant article this year after it came to fruition that a few applications were denied based on a resident not serving in a qualifying war or conflict, or not having the required medal to earn the standard veterans credit. The state of New Hampshire recently adopted the all veterans credit to allow more residents to benefit this credit, and the Board of Selectmen feels that the town of Weare should do the same.
I recognize the chair of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Weare Finance Committee recommends this article by a vote of 9-0. Under RSA 7228, the current $500 annual tax credit is limited to those veterans who served during war or period of armed conflict. It is based strictly on when you served, regardless of whether you were actually in combat or a war zone. This article would extend the exemption to anyone who honorably served and otherwise meets the criteria. The committee supports this article based on one simple principle. When you sign up to serve, you've put your life on the line for your country, not knowing what the future holds. The committee believes that the tax impact will be minimal. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion on this article?
Luke Drake, 141 Duck Pond Road, veteran. But I was going to echo the point that when folks sign up for military service, they don't know generally what's going to be happening while they're there. But there's been several times over my post-service where this has been an impact, where if you didn't serve during a particular portion, you didn't have a specific medal through, just timing, you don't get the benefit. And I think the reality is, if you're going to recognize veterans for their service, recognize veterans and don't discriminate among them based on when they served.
Thank you.
Brent Dickinson, Dells Way. Thank you very much. The previous gentleman said it probably more eloquently than I can. I do support this. I appreciate it. Just because you're not classified in a conflict, a war, doesn't mean a lot of us didn't already experience something that's very similar, just on a limited basis. So thank you very much.
Other discussion on this article?
Frank Campana. I would support this, and one reason, I feel I don't have brothers in blue, but I do have brothers in olive drab, well, maybe some navy is blue. But in any respect, I am afforded the availability of that tax credit, and if a veteran meets the criteria set up, then it should be extended to them also.
Thank you. Any other discussion on Article 21? Okay, seeing none, it will move to the ballot as written. Okay, all those in favor of restricting reconsideration? We're going to do that. Okay, Article 22. Shall the town modify the provisions of RSA 7239A for elderly exemption for property tax in the town of Weare, based on assessed value for qualified taxpayers to be as follows. For a person 65 years of age up to 74 years of age, increase the exemption from $70,000 to $90,000. For a person 75 years of age up to 79 years of age, increase the exemption from $90,000 to $120,000. For a person 80 years of age or older, increase the exemption from $300,000 to $400,000. To qualify, the person must have been a New Hampshire resident for at least 3 consecutive years, own the real estate individually or jointly, or if the real estate is owned by such person's spouse, they must have been married to each other for at least 5 consecutive years. In addition, the taxpayer must have a net income of not more than $33,000, or if married, a combined net income of less than $44,000, and own net assets not in excess of $80,000, excluding the value of the person's residence. This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen.
Madam Moderator, I'll speak to the question, and I move the article.
Second.
During the reevaluation in 2021, the property assessed values increased between 40 and 60%. The Board of Selectmen feel that this exemption should reflect a compatible increase, approximately 30%. This warrant article will increase the exemption as follows: from $70,000 to $90,000 for a person of 65 years of age up to 75 years of age, from $90,000 to $120,000 for a person 75 years of age up to 80 years of age, and from $300,000 to $400,000 for a person 80 years of age or older. This article does not change the income limits nor the asset limits to qualify. This is an effort to keep the elderly available to stay on their own while in their own home.
Recognize the Chair of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Given this is the last article we'll be commenting on, if I could have some privilege here for a moment. I just wanted to say that, and I should have started with thanking the board, the Finance Director, Naomi, the department directors for the collaboration, the input, and they worked really well with us. In particular, I didn't realize that Naomi was doing 3 or 4 jobs, and I just wanted to acknowledge it publicly how much I appreciate it, and I think most of the people in the town do. That said, for Article 2022, the Weare Finance Committee recommends this article by a vote of 8 to 1. Approving this warrant article will make adjustments to the current exemption program to bring it in line with the recent townwide property revaluation. Last year, senior citizens who qualify for the program saw their tax bills disproportionately increase as the entire increase in valuation was taxed. This would proportionally increase the exemption to reduce any undue tax burden on our most affected senior population, many of whom rely on fixed incomes. The committee believes the tax impact will be minimal. Thank you.
Okay, discussion on Article 22.
Luke Drake, 141 Duck Pond Road. I'm in support of the article, but I am concerned that the income hasn't changed. That seems what you're doing actually is reducing the number of people that will be eligible, because over time, of course, the value and the incomes, you know, they're not as meaningful. So I'm not in a position to propose an amendment because I don't know what the appropriate number would be for the income. But it seems to me that if what you're trying to do is to protect some of our elder community from losing their homes due to taxation, you need to adjust the income levels upward as well so that you can actually protect that body you're looking to protect. More comment, but I don't know how to propose a change to that because I'd just be pulling numbers out of the air myself.
Thank you. Other discussion on Article 22?
Liz Evans, 84 Oak Hill Road. So I did not support this article, and this is based on the sheer process of valuing assets. That assets can be moved within trust. Income can be adjusted based on how it's taken, if it's dividends and interest that are paid out of investment portfolios. That could make it be perceived that income is below a particular range, while assets can be held in an irrevocable trust outside of the owner's name. So this would become a very distorted perception of somebody that would be deemed as being of lower income or having tax burden. When we invest in homes and property, it's an asset. And so the expectation is that the asset price is going to increase over time, in which you're able to reap and capitalize on the value. And so if we think back to the global financial crisis, there were individuals, millions of individuals, who were underwater, meaning that the value of their home was below what they owed. So there were not exemptions that were done then. And so I don't believe that exemptions should be made for individuals that decided to invest in a home, in real estate. And we can look across the country and we can see that values of homes are significantly disparate depending on where you live. So I just would like to be transparent that I do not support this bill because I believe that there are way too many abilities to distort assets and reduce your income based on sources. Thank you.
Thanks. Other discussions or comments on Article 22? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to have it move to the ballot as written. Move to restrict reconsideration. All those in favor? All right. Article 23. Shall the town delegate the duties and responsibilities of the cemetery trustees to the Board of Selectmen? If approved, the delegation shall take effect 90 days after adoption and shall continue until rescinded by vote of town meeting. This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen.
Madam Moderator, I'll be speaking to this article. Move to accept the article as written. This was done at the time we brought this article forth because we had a mass exodus from the cemetery trustees, and by statute, that responsibility then falls back to the Board of Selectmen. Due to the existing vacancies, the unfulfilled elected positions, the town may assign the duties of the cemetery trustees to the Board of Selectmen per RSA 289:6. This is an essential duty of the town, and we have a both moral and legal obligation to take care of those who have departed and keep our cemeteries running and take care of those people who have left us.
Okay, discussion on this article.
Hi, Clarence Gardner. On first reading of this, I was wondering whether it needs to say that the trustees should be abolished, but I guess not, since it's not permanent. But should it be amended to say that the trustees will regain that power when they are full strength?
Well, at this point, we don't know. You have to hold we'll have to hold an election to have.
Right.
And that will be a discussion to put back to the Board of Selectmen to put them back on the ballot.
Is this stopping elections for the trustees?
There's nobody, there was one vacancy, and I do not believe anybody signed up for it this year.
But that's not saying whether there are
There are no trustees at this point, so it falls back. It abolishes it for the time being unless we bring it back. We don't have anybody that's a cemetery trustees.
But if all of a sudden 12 people wanted to,
Then they can
then
come
it would
forward,
immediately go back to
and
them.
then we can turn around and take the legal actions to bring it back.
Right, okay. And I assume those duties aren't tremendously onerous anyway.
You'd probably have to ask the people who did it, so.
It's quite involved, but yeah, it's governed by statute, and that they have to take care of the cemeteries, make sure that, money's expended for the cemeteries, people are interred properly, with the sexton, they sell the lots and so forth, and record all of this.
Okay.
Other discussion on this article? I recognize Clow.
Tom Clow, 125 Concord Stage Road. I have a question. It seemed like from the presentation that the RSAs already assign that duty to the selectmen if it can't be done by the trustees. So is this article really necessary if it goes to the selectmen anyways?
There's a copy of it right here.
I'm going to defer that question to town council. Did you hear the question, Laura?
I did. So the statute starts by saying every town shall elect a board of cemetery trustees. And then it goes on to say any town with a town meeting form of government may adopt a town meeting to have the board of selectmen serve for the elected office of the cemetery trustees. So the default is that you have an elected body, and then this body has to decide to assign those duties somewhere else. It is necessary, yes.
Just for some, Helene Kirk, Mount Dearborn Road, just for some clarification, will this continue to be on the ballot every year to see if people want to sign up?
This question will not need to be on the ballot every year. What I'm hearing is if there's suddenly an upswelling of people who want to be cemetery trustees, go talk to the selectmen, and they will happily hand the duties back over.
Are you volunteering?
Okay, any other discussion on this article? Okay, seeing none, it will move to the ballot as written. Okay, all those in favor of restricting reconsideration? Okay, thank you. All right, Article, where am I? 24. Holy Toledo. Okay. To see if the town will vote to reinstate the Ethics Committee abolished in 2014. The Ethics Committee implements the Code of Ethics, which was adopted in 2005. It was abolished due to a lack of interest in serving on the committee. This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen.
Move the question. Second. All right. Again, as stated, 2005, there was a ethics committee and a code of ethics established for town employees, volunteers, committee members. In 2014, the town discontinued the committee by ballot due to unfilled vacant elected positions. There seems to be a trend here. There have been inquiries as to the establishment of the ethics committee, which requires a vote of the town. Throughout the year, we've had at our meetings not one but multiple requests of where this committee went and if we could be reinstated. So again, we are putting it in front of the voters.
Okay, Article 24 is open for discussion.
The Ethics Committee was established indeed when I was a selectman. We had a group of citizens who worked very hard for about half a year to put together a good ethics program. They contacted Dunbarton, which had and continues to have an ethics committee by vote. And it's a double-edged sword in a way, because if you don't have people who are non-biased and open-minded and fair and all the other things that are ethical, you can run into problems. So with that, first of all, I'd like to make an amendment. And I'd like to add to the amendment add to the warrant article because I feel that it isn't clear how we're going to move forward with having an ethics committee. Is there a problem, Madam? No. Okay. Okay. I'd like it to read.
Well, but you're amending an amendment that we haven't yet discussed, right? So you've proposed an amendment, and then I just heard you say that you want to amend the amendment that you handed me, or you want to amend the original?
I want that to be the amendment.
So we're talking about this amendment?
Yes.
Okay, so let me read the amendment to the legislative body, and then we will go to you for further. Okay. So the proposed amendment is to see if the town will vote to reinstate the Ethics Committee abolished in 2014 with members to be elected by vote of the town beginning in 2023 for terms of office as set forth in the Code of Ethics adopted by the town in 2006.
And the reason for that is I thought that having it the way it was just placed didn't do anything. It just said, we will have a committee, but didn't say how we would go about getting the committee. So I hope that this clarifies it and will establish it and that we'll get people.
So I have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Do I have a second for this motion? Okay, I have a second. Okay, so then discussion on the amendment on the floor on Article 24.
You want me to repeat what I just said?
No, I think I understood the contents of what you were saying is that you want to establish a process so that the same thing doesn't happen again. You don't want to recreate the wheel, you want a better wheel. Okay. Discussion.
Liz Evans, Oak Hill Road. So I support the establishment along with the amendments in with regards to the establishing an ethics committee. I think many times the definition of ethics can be a little bit opaque. And so in terms of ethics being defined within the terms of the committee, I think would be valuable to really be able to reduce corruption, fraud, accountability, increase accountability, to hope to reduce the tax rate over time by catching some of these things that tend to impact budgets, as we can see, which I won't get into, but that's all I have.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Luke Drake, 141 Duck Pond Road. I think we do need to have an ethics committee. I've had some issues myself with a couple of the boards in the past year, and it's not just that people have been asking for an ethics committee, frankly. There have been issues raised about ethical concerns. What I'll say up front, however, is I personally don't believe that people are intentionally violating things. One of the things that I learned during the conversations that I had was that there are many people that have no idea that we had any kind of ethics standards and were resistant themselves to the idea that they might need some ethical guidance or that there would be some kind of training. I had one gentleman tell me that if he had to have ethics training as a representative of the town, that he would leave his position. And to that I say, okay. But the reality is that there does need to be some kind of rails on the system that adds objectivity, and even if it's an incidental or an inadvertent ethical conflict. For example, you're voting on something that you have an outside interest in, not necessarily a fiduciary interest in. Disclosure is important. So as has been mentioned several times, people are clear about what's happening in the town. I do think an ethics committee is critically important for any town. And the last point I would make is we have a lot of vacancies out there, and I would just submit to the town and to the boards that we need to do more in outreach when these vacancies come up, or in advertising that we have such a thing as X committee, Y committee. I understand they are publicly available on the website and all of that, but the reality is a lot of folks obviously aren't seeing this because we're not getting the participation. I just think there needs to be some outside-the-box thinking on how we can get folks to participate in these committees, but I strongly support the amendment as proposed.
Thank you.
Hello, Clarence Gardner. I assume this long dormant ethics code is written somewhere, probably on the town website. Could we just have the warrant article include a reference to it,
Are you proposing an amendment?
if that's required? I don't know how to write it because I don't know where it is.
I can give you, well, so, let me think about this. We have to take the amendment on the floor as written. And so if you're suggesting an amendment to the amendment, we would first have to resolve the issue of deciding if we're going to accept this amendment.
Okay.
And then if it gets shot down, then you would be in a position to add on. Or, I believe the person who made the amendment could offer to withdraw the amendment, and we would then go back to the original as written and start over. So we have many paths that we can travel.
I'm not clear that that's accurate. I believe that an amendment proposed can be amended. I'm not clear that it has to be voted on prior to being amended.
I believe that the only person who can amend the amendment is the person who made the amendment. And so, Laura, am I off?
We do not operate under any particular rules of order. You're the moderator, it's your rule, and if your rule is that an amendment cannot be amended, then the amendment cannot be amended.
There you go. So I'm going to say, for point of lack of confusion, that we stick with this. If Helene wants to pull it back and add on to it, that the Code of Ethics should be included in it, that's her decision. But if not, we would move forward with voting. Neil, you just cut somebody in line, so I want to,
Because this deals with your ruling. It's possible, once this amendment is either adopted or not adopted, in either case, that a further amendment could be offered in line with what this gentleman is suggesting.
Yes, as a part of that discussion, but we would then have to first get through this amendment, correct? Yeah. So, okay. James.
Hi, James Drury, Oak Hill Road again. I have a question about the wording of this, because all the other articles are say, shall something happen, where this is simply to see if the town will vote to reinstate. So my question is this simply just informational purposes, or is this to actually create the ethics committee? And will the wording, as it stands, actually create the ethics committee?
Going to defer to Laura on that one. Okay, she'll be back. I'm gonna read it again. Laura, we were asked a question that only you can answer. And so James is asking if the wording of this particular amendment, and correct me if I'm wrong, if the wording of this particular amendment is like, well, yeah, we can do this if you say yes, but it doesn't mean that we have to do it, or if this is compelling us to do it. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
Whether the warrant article says to see if or shall, it all means the same thing.
Okay.
So it's just, and I think many years ago in Weare, someone had a problem with the phrasing to see if, so everything that's been written generally says shall until they send it to my office, and then I write to see if. So it can be either.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My amender is back. Helene, you want to take the floor?
Where's the jump? I have no problem with adding on. I have to write it out.
And my understanding is all he wants to do is add a reference that the Code of Ethics can be found on the website.
I wish I had Jeopardy music sometimes. Are you going to hum, Jack? Is that what you're... Okay, I'm going to read it one more time so that we're all clear. To see if the town will vote to reinstate the Ethics Committee abolished in 2014 with members to be elected by vote of the town beginning in 2023 for terms of office as set forth in the Code of Ethics adopted by the town in 2006. The Code of Ethics is available on the town website. I have a point of clarity, 2005. Are you okay with me making that change on this form, Ms. Kirk?
We worked on it in 2005, but I believe it was on the ballot in 2006. Am I wrong?
Would anyone be opposed to just taking out the year of adoption?
I would be.
Okay.
So it was voted on in 2006?
Maureen, do you have?
We started with it because in 2005 it was adopted.
All right, I'm going to have you speak to the microphone. So Clerk Bilodeau is coming up. Come on.
The only thing that I know is
Come on down. You're next. Price is right. All right, go ahead.
all is that I know is that we adopted it in 2005, and then it went on the ballot for the positions.
We adopted it at a town meeting, correct?
Yes. It was voted on, okay. But we have on here, it was adopted in 2005. Okay. So it's 2006.
Okay. Am I okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Any other discussion on Article 24 as amended? Or did you want to say something else to it? Okay. All right, I'm going to recognize, it looks, Frank, are you coming up?
I would support the amendment, to be sure, and my comment being is, I think it's very ironic and unfortunate that we're in a day, in an age, that people, have to have a committee to oversee them, to make sure they do things that are ethical. It's too bad that that's happened. And my other concern about an ethics committee is the ethics of the ethics committee. If they're elected positions, people, a group of certain people bias one way or the other. Everybody has their own definition of ethics, I guess, in a sense. I probably do. And I don't know how you resolve that issue, if it could be resolved. But in any event, I, support the amendment.
Thank you.
Bill Alleman, Helen Dearborn Road. I served on the formation committee way back when, and then a few years on the resulting ethics committee. We uncovered a number of concerns, which ultimately I think resulted in the formation committee being relatively ambivalent on the whole matter. But one of those concerns was reliably getting people to serve. And my recollection is back in 2014, the town came to the realization that, yeah, that was an actual concern. And it's really curiosity more than anything, why the select board now believes that that is not going to be a continuing issue.
Oh, I think it's a very valid issue. I think it's a very valid concern. But unfortunately, we don't know unless we put it out there.
I just want to mention that in the Code of Ethics that Bill was part of, it lays out training and all kinds of things that would make for harmonious government. Let's put it that way. But as I said, it's a double-edged sword. People who run and have perhaps a more vindictive streak could cause other problems. So I think the concept of it might be good. When we did it, there was no problem. We just thought we were being a little bit proactive. We would give all that information. When no one would run for it, it kind of ate itself up. I think that we should put it back on the ballot, see what we come up with. Please recognize there's no money with this right now, but it could come to the fact that we do need money for it if it goes forward. And that I want people to be cognizant of that.
Thank you. Other discussion? No?
Tom Clow, 125 Concord Stage Road. Really, I have a question. Perhaps, Helene, you could answer it. Nothing in this warrant article tells like the number of members of the committee. Is that on file somewhere from the past so that we can refer to it?
That's in the Code of Ethics.
Yeah. No, it isn't.
I just looked at it.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's not the one that we, well, never mind. If it's there, it's there. That's fine. But I didn't remember it from when we've used that code for a number of times to swear people in for various offices. Thank you.
Helene, let me make sure that no one else wants to speak to it before. Anyone else want to speak to this amendment? Okay, Mr. Dickinson?
I just wanted to answer his question.
Well, I think, Tom, you got your question answered, correct? I think
Brent
he's all
Dickinson,
set.
Dells Way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if this doesn't go ahead, it doesn't grow legs. My understanding is if someone has a problem with an elected official, they can still go to the Secretary of State's office, correct? If there's an ethics violation that we don't have a committee to handle, they still can go to various points of the state government for clarification or whatever.
The Secretary of State's office has a public integrity unit. They don't enforce your local code of ethics, they enforce state law.
Right, that's, basically violation of RSA, whatever.
Correct.
Yes, I understand that. So thank you very much. So just making a point to the amendment that, this is handled in other functions and we may not want to bog ourselves down with that responsibility by creating it again. So, thank you.
Helene, it looked like you wanted to go back up. Okay.
I didn't realize, Tom, did you get the answer to your question? Okay, because there's 10, but it's in 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year terms broken down.
Yep, we're on the amendment.
Luke Drake, Duck Pond Road. To the previous speaker's comment, I have to say I disagree. I've tried to deal with some of the state ethical issues, and first off, they're not that interested in dealing with town issues. Secondly, as has been mentioned, they're going to talk about statute versus what the town has determined independently in its ethics statement or mission statement, whatever that is, that's what this town is interested in seeing in its officials. I am much more strongly in favor of local control, although that fallback still exists. I think that is a far and away less valuable option than having this committee resident in town with people that are known in town, because there are very few people that are going to go through the trouble, in my opinion, of finding out where that resource is in the state. They may see faces that they know and feel comfortable in talking about it locally. So I'd much prefer to have local control over this issue, or at least local alignment with the state's situation.
Thank you. Other discussion on Article 24 as amended? Okay, seeing none, it will move to the ballot as amended. Oh, I do. Oh my goodness, okay. All those in favor of Article 24 as amended, can you please raise your card? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Helene, do you have your card up? Oh, okay. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Okay, all those opposed? 1, 2. I have 2. So 2 opposed. Anybody abstaining? I believe Helene was abstaining. Okay, 1 abstention. And so Article 24 as amended passes. And we'll move to the ballot as amended. And now do I have a motion to restrict reconsideration from my friend Maureen Bilodeau? And I have a second. Do we want to have a discussion? And you know, this is a good point of order, but I thought we sort of did, but we can some more if you'd like to. I'm happy to hear whatever you have to say, Mr. Fulton. I've didn't recognize you when you first walked in, and then I didn't see you from across the room, so I'm definitely going to have you take the microphone now.
So no luck being anonymous. Andy Fulton, Hemlock Drive. I'm sorry I didn't speak earlier. I just wanted to see the amendment cleared and then have an opportunity to speak to the article. My question is, what is the activity, the action item, the purpose of this reinstated committee should it be approved? What's a vision for what the body would do, how they would help the town through this issue of dealing with disagreements, not seeing eye to eye on things, having different perspectives? So how would this committee function to help the town out?
I believe, if I'm correct, that the entire framework for the committee, including terms of election, terms of service, the framework that they use to operate, their internal process is all embedded, and Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, it's all embedded in our town's ethics committee preamble and guidelines, sort of?
It's all in the Code of Ethics and the documents relating to the Code of Ethics. Essentially, right now, you've got a Code of Ethics with no enforcing body. This is the body that hears ethics complaints and takes whatever action might be appropriate.
And just to be clear, that is written up in the code as it is currently on our books?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on Article 24 as amended? Okay. I'm good now, right? Okay. Seeing none. I have a motion to restrict reconsideration. I have a second. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration on, okay, so it is restricted. Okay. Article 25. My favorite article. To transact any other business which may legally become before this meeting, and I believe that I've already been told, does anyone in the legislative body have any other business that they'd like to bring before I do this? I believe that Chairman Ricky Hippler has business that he'd like to bring.
I do have some business we need to conduct. As some of you know, Vice Chairman Jack Meany is not running for selectman again. And we'd like to take a moment as a board and a body to thank Jack for his, I believe it's 6 years of service as a Board of Selectmen member to the town of Weare. And present him with a plaque of appreciation.
Vice Chairman Meany, do you have any words for the body?
I'd like to thank everybody in the town of Weare, those that voted for me and those that didn't, and for the support that they've shown to myself and to the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chairman Meany. Okay, So, with that, seeing no other business, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to officially... wait, oh my goodness. What?
Maybe.
Is it my understanding that you are not running as a moderator for election?
That is accurate.
I would just like to take a minute to thank you on behalf of myself and the town for the work that you put in. I think you've done a very good job, and wish that you were continuing, but best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you. This writing command. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good day.